Hey guys, welcome back to the AT-AT Chat. Today we are doing a Last Jedi audio commentary. So, just like the last time with the solo one, we are going to do a 3, 2, 1 spacebar countdown. When you hit spacebar, you got to make sure that the movie is lined up right at the beginning before you even see the Lucasfilm logo, and that way when you hit spacebar, that'll pop up, then the blue-green font, and then the fanfare. So, a lot of stuff to talk about with this movie. I'm going to do my best not to be silent for long stretches, but as you know, I love this film. Lots of stuff to say. And yeah, I'm excited to watch this and talk about it. So, without further ado, let's do this. All right, guys. 3, 2, 1, spacebar. Here comes the Lucasfilm logo. Also, I'm moving the mic. Sorry if you can hear that. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Here comes the fanfare. I will always love the beginning to Star Wars movies, no matter what. Now, this is actually the most, apparently soft version of the opening fanfare. It's not as, like, hard staccato. That's something we'll have to actually look into. So let's read this. The First Order reigns. Having decimated the peaceful Republic, Supreme Leader Snoke now deploys his merciless legions to seize military control of the galaxy. Only General Leia Organa's band of resistance fighters stand against the rising tyranny, certain that Jedi Master Luke Skywalker will return and restore a spark of hope to the fight. That spark is always mentioned throughout, you know. But the resistance has been exposed. As the First Order speeds towards the rebel base, the brave heroes mount a desperate escape. Now, to be honest, you know, this wasn't the best opening title scroll. Didn't stink, you know. This is happening right after The Force Awakens, so there's only so much that could be said. All right, here we go. Oh, this was an interesting tilt. It kind of how the space kind of warps really dramatically in this one. Yeah, and I love this. The staccato trumpets plowing through the fleet here as it escapes from Dakar. And smash to this cut. There's Connix. Connix is Carrie Fisher's daughter. And I love that they use the Kylo Ren theme now as the First Order theme. It's so menacing right now, right? There he is. Hux looks so sick in this movie, I have to be honest. Like, he looks like he has the flu, right? Still looks menacing though, you know? Now, I love this ship, the Fulminatrix. This is spot on naval style warfare, right? It even sounds like it when it comes in with that radar sounding. So here comes this this odd joke that everybody is so contentious about, right? Poe comes in. He's in his what is that? The T-70? So now he's doing that joke with Hux here. Now for me, this kind of didn't work exactly. I think, you know, Hux is delivering his speech to Poe. This is working. I like this. Tell your precious princess. You know, it's so weaselly. It should have cut right here. So right around here gets a little slapsticky. So other than that, you know, the joke was funny, but I just think it went on just a hair too long. I love those two guys looking at each other, though. The two Imperial-esque First Order guys. I do like the mother joke kind of reminds me of Tony Stark a little bit, but, you know, just felt a little weird for me. So now he's going to attack the Fulminatrix, Poe, and BB-8. I love that when BB-8 falls backwards. I love how animated BB-8 is in this movie. So this is, again, demonstrating how much of an ace pilot Poe is. He's taken out every one of their laser cannons on top of the Fulminatrix. He really is like the Han Solo ace pilot of this trilogy. Kennedy is a badass. I don't care what anybody says. I wish he was in, or I wish that he didn't die in this movie. I also love how they lit this interior of the of their ship, just all red, just everywhere. Very, very evil looking. The music here is so good. This is really, really good. John Williams kind of like Fifey style dogfighting music. Really, really good. Also, first time we've gone into a ship. I love the interior of the X-Wing and seeing BB-8 just kind of around the wires. I don't remember ever seeing something like this before in a movie, to be honest, or a Star Wars movie. The music also kind of reminds me a little bit of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Oh man, I love when Kennedy says fire on the base. If anybody's watching this, please sample that into the beginning of some sort of song. It's awesome. So they finally escaped Dakar. And here we go. Poe is defying orders. Also, great way to take out a TIE fighter. Him slipping through that little area, and then it's slicing off the wings of the TIE. So this is the beginning of Poe's arc, right? He's defying orders, doing what he thinks is correct, regardless of what it costs. And we're going to see what it costs. BB-8's so, like, wacky here. He might have gone a little too wacky with, like, the sound design of BB-8 there. Kind of like that. But I love this little Tokyo drift move in the TIE Fighter. Yeah, that's very, very awesome. So here comes the bombing fleet. I thought this was really awesome. Now, it's funny to me always when I watch Star Wars that everything's oriented the same way in space. But yes, you know, it's based off of the World War II style fighting films that we used to see. So, but I love how this is like so classically retro looking. Sure, it's made with some new modern technology, but this looks like it could have been made in the 80s, you know? The First Order is relentless here. R.I.P. Porkins 2.0. I mean, it seems like such a gamble to send in these bombers because they are getting destroyed. The music here is, you know, it's the music in The Last Jedi is a lot better than the music in The Force Awakens to me. It seems like John Williams had time to breathe and to really flesh out what he was going for sonically and tonally. Also, I don't know if you guys can tell, but the way Steve Yedlin uses camera moves to tell the stories are so good. The movement. Just pay attention to the movement next time you watch The Last Jedi of the camera. It's just always tilting, panning up. and then the next one tilts and pans up, and the next one tilts and pans up. It brings you into each space. It's really, really good. Yeah, so now the entire bombing fleet has been destroyed except for Paige. Sorry for coughing, guys. Oof. Great one shot to get all those people in that one shot on the Fulminatrix. Paige Tico's like their last hope, right? I always, I guess people had an issue with the bombs, but I always loved this whole scene. I thought it was beautifully done. It's just Paige Tico stuck. Everybody's dead. All she has is the switch. She tries to grab it. Boom. She gets knocked all the way down to the bottom of the bombing bay. Then she wakes up, ringing in her ears. Like, I thought this was a beautifully edited sequence. The slow motion cutting between Poe and Kennedy, it's brilliant. Then you hear the bung. He's yelling now. The other guy's going, fire! Also, the design of that guy on the ship is unbelievable. That helmet is so shiny and slick. So to me, this is like the Force moment. She believes she will do what she needs to do, and she grabs her pennant, dropping the detonator, right? I love how she grabs it here. Boom. And now people are so upset that these bombs went down to destroy the Fulminatrix, but from what I'm knowing, or from what I've learned, these are actually magnetic bombs. Makes sense to me. Also, this explosion is unbelievable. Like, this lady just sacrificed herself just to detonate one giant ship out of, what, 6 that are there? A joke me and my buddies have is that Poe better get court-martialed in the beginning of Episode 9 for all the people he accidentally got killed. I love that Rian Johnson also made sure to keep the classic aesthetic inside the ships. They have like the TV screens and everything. Just making sure things can be shot in front of the camera. And I know that was probably visual effects, or that was probably a visual effect tracked onto his screen, but, it looks like it was shot in camera. Yeah, so now, the joke's on Hux here, huh? We finally see Supreme Leader show up. Still projecting himself as a giant hologram. Oof. I love how freaked out the stormtrooper is in the background in this scene when he sees Hux get thrown around. I guess it actually broke the stunt double's nose in real life. Yeah, I mean, Snoke and Hux, their dynamic is great. Little rabbit dog. Alright, so here comes Finn. It's funny, because Finn just woke up, and the last thing he literally remembers is being in the forest, so he must be so disoriented. Also, that's like super retro classic, what's it called? It's like a bodysuit from like 30, 40 years ago in the Star Wars universe to help people. Oh yeah, there he is. He's just leaking everywhere. It's so funny. And I love that all that he wants to know about is where Rey is. I love this edit too. Cut right to the island. Now this is like picking up right where The Force Awakens left off in a sense. The timelines are a little wacky in this movie, but I don't care. So here comes Rey walking up to Luke, the Jedi Master. He's finally gonna grab his father's lightsaber for the first time in God knows how long. 30 years? I remember being so tense in the movie watching this, wondering, is he just gonna lose his mind here? What's gonna go on? And he just says, nope. He tosses that lightsaber over his shoulder, confusing the entire world. But hey, I thought that was actually a pretty good move. He just literally said, nope, I'm doing nothing with this lightsaber. Leave me alone. I love Rey's confusion too. Master Skywalker. A really cool set too for the huts, for the Jedi huts here. And I'm sure everybody knows this. The door was made out of parts of his X-wing. Thought that was a cool detail. Luke's probably like, who the hell is this girl that just showed up with my lightsaber that, you know, last time I was holding it, my dad cut it off my hand? Who? Yeah, so I love porgs, guys. I think porgs are the coolest, newest alien in the Star Wars galaxy. I want one of these things as a pet. It was also a pretty smart move as to why they made them. Too many puffins on the island during filming, so they made porgs to cover them up. Hey, red kyber crystal? Potentially a red kyber crystal owned by Revan in Luke's hut? Maybe. So now we finally get Luke meeting with Chewbacca. Just blew the door off. And Luke just hears the Falcon realizing something's amiss here, right? He goes, where's Han? And then this smash cut to Kylo gave me chills in the theater. I love Kylo in his mask. I still miss it. Now the aesthetic of Snoke's chambers, people said this was really dumb looking, but if you ask me, this is like galactic opulence, right? This is so extra to me. I love Snoke in this movie. The rendering for Snoke too is just so... it's so good. He's also toying with Kylo so well in this movie. I remember when I was watching this, I was trying to keep my eye out for the golden slippers he was apparently wearing. Here comes the Vader theme. So you can tell, you know, Snoke is essentially just saying what he needs to get Kylo to hear, to get him to act in whatever way he needs. Kylo's now realizing everything he's done is pretty much for nothing. I was actually pretty shocked too in the movie when Snoke told him to take that ridiculous thing off. For some reason, I was thinking to myself that maybe Snoke was the one that designed the mask. But I love that he just like throws Kylo's mask under the bus to make fun of him, exposing his weakness. Yeah, if you've read the Force Awakens novel, you'll know that killing Han did split Kylo a little more open. It wounded him a little bit. I love the design of the Praetorian Guard as well. It's a very unique take on the Red Guard, similar to Palpatine, but modern. I love when Snow calls him a child in a mask, and then it just cuts to him brooding in this elevator, right? Just this child of darkness surrounded by flickering light. I mentioned this in one of my videos, and then it's so like Hamlet-esque here, him smashing the skull or his helmet, right? He doesn't want to be anybody's like bitch boy anymore, for lack of a better way to say it. He's just tired of being manipulated. Also, I love that the two Imperials, they were just kind of sizing each other up, looking at each other, the guy and the girl. Yeah, so we're back on Oct 2. Rey's been telling Luke everything that he needs to know. I love how distraught he is at how distraught Luke is at all this news. Sort of pretty much saying, like, just leave me alone. I don't want to be part of this. There's a reason I left. Yeah, Luke is, like, severely depressed in the beginning of this movie. And to me it works because he's always been kind of like that whiny kind of person when things go bad. And things went real bad for him, so he's just isolated on an island, and Rey's just like, come on, train me. It's all she wants. Yeah, so I love this whole section of Rey just literally following Luke around. I do wish they kept the Luke emoting scene from the deleted scenes in the movie. But yeah, now he's with the Thala Sirens about to milk him. Sure, it was a weird part of the movie, but it's Star Wars, guys. This milking of an alien to me made me chuckle in the theater. And after all, Luke is a farmer. I love how horrified Rey is. Ugh. Very Lord of the Rings, too. I'm not sure if you guys got that vibe from this section of the movie. Also, there is the pole from the well. If you have read The Legends of Luke Skywalker, where he learned about the tide and how to fish. I thought this was such a cool part of the movie, him learning, or him fishing here. Like, to me, Luke doesn't need to have a lightsaber battle to show that he's a badass. This guy's living off the land, you know, walking with a fish on his back in the rain with no hood on, just, you know, living. Sure, he is hiding from his past right now, but he's not beat. He knows how to take care of himself. So now we're about to head to the Uneti tree that's on Oct 2. I don't know if you guys know this, but the little whispers that you can hear in the movie are actually the Jedi code. And it's calling to Rey, who, in my opinion, is the cosmic force incarnate. Now, this part is super weird. It was very Dagobah-esque for me. And I don't mean that in a way that, like, oh, he copied it. Just like that murky vibe. I love the trees, you know, kind of burnt look, and it's just kind of surrounded by mist, and there's little bird sounds, and very Dagobah to me. And I love that there's one streak of light hitting one shelf containing some old ancient Jedi books. Here comes Jedi Luke into the tree, wondering what she's doing. So 20,000 years ago, that tree was made to hold these texts. I wonder if one of these texts are officially the Journal of the Wells. That would be very interesting. Yeah, so it's interesting that Rey has seen this tree in dreams, right? It's making Luke a little uneasy. I love that Luke knows that what about Jakku, and then it's pretty much just like a backwater area. I think Mark Hamill deserves an Oscar for acting in this movie. There's just so much emotion in his face when he's looking at her in this scene. Lots of long takes on people in this movie, just like really showing the emotion in the eyes. Second time Rey's been told she needs a teacher. Once by Kylo and now by Luke. Except Luke refuses and Kylo wants to teach her. So there it is. We find out that Luke came to this island to die. And it's pretty terrifying and horrifying and shocking to find out to Rey. I mean, think about it. You just traveled across how many light years to go find this guy that, the general sent you to go get. It's her brother. And then he goes, leave me alone. I want to die because of something that happened. So, that was pretty shocking to me. But, it kept me intrigued. Kept me into the movie. So I think like right around here, yeah, we're like in space. Leia gives Poe a good smack. Yeah, Poe really can't understand the gravity of what just happened at this point. So many people died taking down the Fulminatrix, and Leia's bullshit, right? So he is demoted to captain. So I think right around here, yep. So now the First Order has tracked them through hyperspace. Now, this is the first time we've seen this happen in Star Wars, but it was set up in Rogue One, hyperspace tracking. And there it is. We see Snoke's ship, the Supremacy. I believe the Supremacy is 60 kilometers in diameter. Super big ship. Yeah, Leia here is finally realizing that even if they jump to another location in space, that they will just run out of gas, and the First Order will just hop to the next place and find them. So this is where, like, you think the typical Star Wars, fight's gonna happen, they're gonna win, whatever. But here's where I start, noticing that, like, things start going bad for everybody. This is where people start learning lessons. Now Kylo's coming in as badass TIE ship, TIE silencer. What a great design. Also, it's funny seeing Kylo Ren fly, even though he's Han Solo's son. It makes sense that he would be really good at flying, but, it was just funny to me for some reason, just seeing him fly. But yeah, he's really crazy in the cockpit there. I thought this was like a pretty relentless attack onto the Raddus. So many times I watched this scene where Kylo just takes out the bay here, and I was like, how the hell does he escape? And then I just noticed on the right-hand side that there's a whole bunch of holes out to space, so yeah, he completely destroys their entire fleet inside of the Raddus, knocking Poe Dameron like 45 feet. I didn't think this is how it was going to go when I was seeing the movie, so very surprising to me that everything got blown up in there. I love the new hologram thing in their little war room there. It's supposed to be like new tech, but I'll have to read more about that in the Last Jedi book. Yeah, so now Leia just sensed Ben. I love the frame dissolve here, just like Empire Strikes Back. She actually, in the book, she's saying that she forgives him, or she doesn't blame him for anything, and this pretty much motivates him to not blow her up in this moment. Very, very tense scene in the theater. And I love, Adam Driver's acting is so good. It makes me wonder if he's really this pissed off in real life. Yeah, and there we go. The First Order still blows up the Raddus, and Leia goes flying into space, and R.I.P. Akbar. That's it. Yeah, so unfortunately, the First Order fighters had to return to the fleet because they're not out of they're too far out of range to be covered by the supremacy. So at this point, the First Order and the Resistance are in a little slow chase in space, kind of like Battlestar Galactica with the Cylons. So yeah, here's Leia floating in space. Beautiful, beautiful scene with the music and her bathed in white. She's freezing in space, thinks she's dying. We're hearing her theme, and then some of the particles move around her hand. I got chills during this scene. Now, yes, I do think her moving through space looked a little silly, but my God. This was a very powerful scene to me during the theater. And, just to put this out there, I don't think she's flying through space because there's nothing to fly through. I took this as her sort of grabbing herself or pulling herself towards the ship, or pulling the ship towards her, one or the other. So either way, she is Darth Vader's daughter, so I forgive her exceptional use of the Force, everybody. I think it was pretty cool. A little goofy looking, but still pretty awesome. Really clever use of editing, too, in this movie, with the cutting to the binary beacon from Rey to Finn and back and forth. It's a good way to get from one place to another. Also, this is one of the funniest scenes in the movie, Chewie and the porgs. Oh my God. Those look really tasty. Yeah, they're just staring at him like as he's about to eat a porg. And this other porg's crying like, oh, that's my buddy. Really good puppet work. I laughed out loud in the theater when that thing flew away. Yeah, and there's Luke in the background sneaking up into the Millennium Falcon. Literally going into like pretty much his past. Very, very cool scene. And he grabs Han's dice. I believe that was Rian Johnson's hand, if I'm remembering correctly. That was his one cameo in this movie, his hand grabbing the dice. And here's where, like, that old optimistic Luke finally comes out of the shell with R2. I love that. Sacred Island, watch the language. The bond between R2 and Luke is such a beautiful thing to see in this movie, and it's also a little heartbreaking that never really gets to get a bit of closure to it. I mean, that's his little buddy, R2. Also, I couldn't believe that they used the Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi footage in this movie. It's so interesting that R2 had that stored away in him still. And Luke seeing that, throwing him back into, remembering how he originally got into the fight himself. Of course it's going to push him to help those in need. So yeah, now he's going to teach Rey 3 lessons at dawn. Also, why the Jedi need to end as well. Alright, we're back to the First Order chasing the Resistance. So the fleet's getting debriefed on what just happened after the attack. Akbar's dead. The leadership's dead. But Leia's unconscious and in the medical bay. So I'm pretty sure everybody probably thought Poe was going to take over here for the fleet, but, he did get demoted. So now this is where Laura Dern's character, Admiral Haldo, comes in. And apparently her having purple hair was an issue, but to me that was just Star Wars weirdness. It's an okay speech she gives. It's not, super powerful or anything, but... Poe's just kind of like, who is this lady? Also, I really like that astromech in the back, that other BB unit. Has the flat top. Nine Num, he's my man. I love that Poe looks around after she finished her speak, like, what did she just say? Hello, Asties. He's like, come on, Poe, don't get into trouble. Yeah, so in my point of view, Poe is just being his normal hothead here. He doesn't trust this woman in charge right now. And she's just pretty much like, get out of my way, let me do what Leia put me in charge to do. People need to realize that when they watch this movie. Poe compromised the entire bombing fleet, so Laura Dern's not having it. I love that she that Haldo's smiling at Poe the whole time that she's telling him that he's impulsive and dangerous. It's a very interesting power move to do to people, and it kind of shows authority. Smart thing to do in a movie to demonstrate that kind of power struggle. So here we got classic Finn trying to escape, right? But not for a bad reason. He's just trying to get to Rey. All right, everybody. Here comes Rose. Love her or hate her, she is in this movie. She has some good stuff and some bad stuff. I, for one, think she was pretty alright. So she's crying over the death of her sister, and we realize that after she looks at the emblem that, she's holding the other piece that her sister had. Yeah, she runs into Finn here. I love how, starstruck she is here. Calling him the Finn. It's funny, as I watch the show Star Wars Resistance, I kind of understand how Rose's role was intended to be taken in, just like a worker. getting into the thick of everything. And I thought that was a cool thing to do. Bring somebody into the fray, not normally in the fray. But yeah, she's completely blinded by her love for Finn here, her fandom for Finn, that she doesn't even realize that he's trying to escape. Yeah, so she's been stunning people all day because they've been trying to escape. And then she finally notices the bag in the escape pod. Boom. Finn has caught everybody. You can never lie to a woman. Let that be a lesson. Never lie to a woman. Because they will tase you. And then Finn gets tased. I remember somebody saying that was a racist moment in the movie. I don't know. I mean, oh my god, what have I heard about this movie? Yeah, Finn is really funny. I love it, like he can't feel his body after he got electrocuted. So he's trying to explain to Rose that he's just trying to get his friend out of here, but, you know, again, he's just being seen as a traitor by another group of people. I will say this one little moment here where Finn mentions that they can track the resistance through light speed, that's why he wants to escape, and then Rose is like, oh, what? Like, their friendship kind of happened so quick. Probably could have taken a little bit more of a beat or two before they started trusting each other, but, you know, movie. But it also shows that she has a lot more going on underneath the surface than just being a mechanic. So I thought this part was interesting. Like, this is actually Rose's plan, but Finn just keeps talking over her. Yeah. Also, there's that brand new, like, heads up, like, hologram display mentioned in the Last Jedi book. New tech. I love that pose. Like, how'd you guys meet? Yeah, so they know that they have to go on this mission to go, you know, figure out how to shut down the tracker inside of the Supremacy. Somehow sneak on the ship, right? So this is a very important part of the movie that a lot of people forgot about too. Poe puts in the light speed coordinates in the ship to jump in the light speed, which comes in later into the events with Haldo jumping the ship through light speed. Oh yeah, here's a video game part of the movie where Maz Kanata shows up to let them know where the code breaker is. I think the comic actually handled this part of the story a little bit better, but I like that that Maz Kanata ended up back in the sequel. I love the innuendo joke here. Lots of those little jokes throughout the saga right now. But yeah, I don't know if you guys thought this Maz scene kind of felt like a video game, like animatic, where you just kind of like get to the next chapter, right? Yeah, and then Maz flies away with a jetpack. Very video gamey, but either way, it propels the plot forward. So they gotta get a code breaker on Canto Bight. Oh yeah, so now we're about to get into our first Force connection, which I had no idea or could have even anticipated that this was going to happen in the movie. I love this little weird droid sewing up Kylo Ren's cheek. It's so gross. So yeah, the intercutting, setting up about what's to happen, you know, Octu and the supremacy, Kylo Ren and Rey, and he can sense something's going on, and so can she. And then all the sound gets pulled out. All we can hear is them breathing. And they can see each other. I gotta be honest, the hole that blaster bolt left is enormous. So yeah, Kylo Ren's like, what the hell is going on? Rey's like, what the hell is going on? They're in two entirely different places, yet they sort of just saw each other. And now they see each other again. And so Kylo Ren's realizing that he has no control over the situation. He can't do anything to Rey. He doesn't know who's making this happen, right? Saying it would kill her if she was doing this. It almost seems like Kylo Ren's so tender, too, as he talks to her. And she's so pissed at him. He's curious, she's angry. Oh yeah, so those are the Lineans, I believe, the caretakers of the island. I think these are really cool puppets. The book says they're there for an ancient bargain, whatever that means, but, you know, I just like me some weird puppet aliens in Star Wars. And they're all pissed at Rey because she's messing everything up. So yeah, Luke couldn't see any of that connection, right? And, you know, we come to find out why he couldn't sense any of it. Yeah, so they're climbing up this giant mountain to get into the Jedi Temple. I thought this was a really cool set, especially the Jedi emblem in the middle of this cave here. Very otherworldly, but, you know, also reminiscent to our own sort of yin and yang. I love Luke standing against the ocean with the wind blowing in his hair. Such a majestic frame. Yeah, so Luke's having Rey sit down to start getting some learning done. He asks her what she knows. Obviously, she doesn't know really anything about the Force, so... I love how Luke explains, or at least brings back the explanation of the Force to reality a little bit more, less than the midi-chlorian explanation. I know that's still part of the lore, but he's just saying, you know, it's everything. It's the energy that binds us, just like the original trilogy. I love this moment where he smacks her hand with the little blade of grass. I don't know. If you ask me, a lot of the comedy in this movie did land. You don't need to laugh out loud for it to land, but it seemed like a good comedy moment, like a real comedy moment. So now Luke's having Rey sort of reach into the Force with her feelings. And I thought this edit section here, the way this is all edited together, was so interesting. This close-up camera work, panning underground to bones. Very cool editing. So as she peers into the Force and sees all these things, she's seeing the balance, the dark, the light, recognizing that the Force has also been inside of her forever, right? So I always thought that line was so interesting, to say that if the Jedi die, the light die. If the Jedi die, the light dies as vanity. Can you feel that? I mean, that's a very important aspect of the Force. The Jedi don't own the light, right? So now Rey's getting pulled into the dark side of the island. And it's straight up freaking out Luke, right? What's interesting, too, is you can hear a bunch of screaming happening as she's sort of like going into that darkness. Luke is just completely freaked out that Rey went right into the dark. And Rey's starting to realize that Luke is cut off from the Force, which would be the reason why I didn't see the connection between Rey and Kylo earlier. Yeah, so Luke is admittedly saying that he is scared and walking away. Rey is abandoned again, you know? Like, she's just trying to get trained, and unfortunately, Luke is just too broken to do anything. Yes, right now, Connix is helping Poe with the plan to get Finn and Rose to Canto Bight. So they just jumped. Yeah, so now the Falcon is getting taken over by Porgs. They're like little gremlin mogwais. The little babies are real creepy looking. The little baby Porgs. Yeah. Very creepy. But the older ones, yeah, very, very awesome. Yeah, so now we're about to get another connection between Kylo and Rey. So again, like, Kylo's just curious, going, why is the Force connecting us? And Rey's just pissed, just yelling at him. Kylo's trying to probe her to be like, do you even know why I destroyed the island? I love when Kylo also, when he goes, yes I am, when Rey calls him a monster through the Force during this connection. His lip is trembling and his eyes are watery, and it's almost like him admitting that is also like for him to also say it to himself, to believe it. Like, he believes he is a monster, right? Or at least, there's something about him that's wrong, and a lot of that has to do with like what you read in the books, finding out like behind closed doors the parents are afraid of him and stuff like that. So yeah, so now we're on Canto Bight, another contentious part of the movie, but I like that twirly mustache alien guy in this little ship barge. I thought the aesthetics here were pretty good. I think the Solo yacht was a little bit more what this could have been. You know, So this alien with a southern accent, absolutely don't like it. I'm sorry, guys. I thought that was a poor use of that character. They should have used some really interesting alien speak. So I do like the interior Canto Bight and what's going on here and the music. It's like that highbrow cantina thing, right? This is Star Wars camp. I would say if they had less people, more aliens, this would be a very, very, very awesome scene. It's just not enough aliens for me. I do like that little, like, Muppety guy. Reminds me of the rats from the Muppets. So yeah, apparently this little alien, this drunk alien, is voiced by Mark Hamill. I think that was a nice thing for them to have him do, because he is a voice actor. But yeah, this scene was like a little silly for me. But overall, you know, the scene is well put together. It's well edited. Camera work is great. You know, now we're outside watching this like race going on with the Fathiers, those giant horse aliens. To me, the Fathiers kind of reminded me of this very random movie from a long time ago that I saw. I think called Warriors of Virtue. I couldn't stop thinking about it. But yeah, this is where we learn a lot about Rose, right? She comes from a poor mining system. And Finn's like finally realizing why she's like not into being here. We're seeing these kids get like whipped and harassed by like, you know, their like slave owner. Finn's realizing that like that all this war profiteering is exploiting so many people and children, just like Rose and the kids down at the Fathier stables. I don't like that line about the fist through the lousy town thing, but oh well. Not every line could be great. I accept it. Oh yeah, so I love when they find the bread plum bloom guy. The music here is amazing. I love him looking at Lovely too. That's the name of the actress. Oh yeah, and here's this southern accent alien. The cops just tase him without even asking him a question. Ruthless, right? Yeah, so now Rey is with her staff back on Octu. You know, Rose and Finn are going to jail, probably. Or, you know, they are. Nobody's there to train Rey right now, so she's just kind of doing her own thing. So a lot of people have said that, you know, you can't just pick up a lightsaber and be good at it. Rey's fantastic with a staff, so it makes perfect sense to me that, you know, her taking an object that is staff-like and then training with it, you know, she'd probably look pretty okay and be decent with it. So none of this seemed out of left field to me. Also, if you pay attention to the kind of moves she's doing right now, her little kata, these are the moves Kylo uses on Luke at the end of the film. A lot of foreshadowing. And Luke's just like, oh my god, she is really good. Also, this is the funniest part in the movie. The Rock taking out the cart that the caretakers are rolling is so funny that I literally spit stuff out of my mouth in the theater. I know people are like, Star Wars shouldn't be that funny, but I don't know. That was super hilarious to me. And so Luke's trying to let Rey know that like the Jedi were blinded by their own hubris, and she doesn't want to listen to it. And she's also trying to remind Luke that the Jedi did save or did turn Darth Vader back to the light. So we're learning a little bit more about what the hell's going on, right? Luke doesn't like his own legend. Also, the way this whole scene was put together with the backlighting of the sun setting, it's so beautiful. I mean, you can just tell Luke Skywalker is heartbroken by all the past events that have occurred post Return of the Jedi with Ben. I love this flashback. I think this is Lothal, by the way. So we see Luke in Ben's hut, and then the hut collapses, right? This is the moment we see in the Force Awakens from the flashback. Or from the Force back. Look at all the bodies, too. Like, Kylo just killed so many people. Of course, Luke would be, like, completely depressed and disturbed by what had happened. You can see Luke Skywalker holding back crying in this scene. Remembering how much he has let down the galaxy. And it's gut-wrenching. Rey just wants Luke to show her, you know, what does she mean in all of this stuff? Like, why is the Force calling to her? But, you know, with his past experience, does he really want to expose himself to another downfall? You know, he probably couldn't handle it. So the space battle rages on. I'm sorry, the space chase. But now the medical frigate is out of fuel, so they're going to take that out. So one by one, the First Order is slowly taking down each bit of the Resistance. Just non-stop death in this movie. So right now they have 6 hours of fuel left. And Connix just let everybody know that. And Haldo's just saying, maintain the course. She's told nobody a plan, and this is what's getting everybody kind of, you know, nervous. And this is why, you know, Finn and Rose are on the side planet they are on to try to find this code breaker. So now Finn and Rose are in jail, space jail. Pretty nice looking space jail, to be honest. Alright, so here comes Benicio del Toro's character. DJ for Don't Join. Also, look at those disgusting feet. Oh my god. I think this guy was a pretty good character for this movie. I didn't like the stutter, but beyond that, we want him to be the Han, the guy that turns good. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, why does he... It's so happenstance that he's in there. Well, go read the book and you'll figure out why he's in there. He wanted a nice place to sleep. thought it was interesting how DJ dropped Snoke's name, because to me that would have been like red flag. Maybe we shouldn't work with this guy, but either way they're in a bind. So yeah, he straight up just unlocks every cell in the jail and just walks away casually. So a lot of this stuff is what I would consider kind of fluff in the movie. It could have been like edited down a little bit. You know, I enjoy watching it. I don't skip over it. But it's just not as Star Warsy. Like this with the coins, a little wacky to me. A little wacky. I know that BB-8 did like the thumbs up in Force Awakens, but for some reason the coin thing was just a little bizarre for me. By the way, I love the samurai-esque design of the police on Canto Bight. One high point I would say of this entire sequence is the design. All right, here's the father. Like I mentioned earlier, these things remind me of Warriors of Virtue, a really old kids movie. A little bit of Harry Potter-esque too. But yeah, you know, good attempt at a I don't know what the word I'm looking for. A big ass Star Warsy horse. It sort of works. So I believe this is Tamiri Blag. He's like the broom boy at the end. Also a little attuned to the Force. I actually thought these kids were really cool because it's supposed to be us, right? Like us in the world hearing about these lofty stories of heroes. That's why I like the addition of the kids in this film. And I love that the kid just completely fucks over the cops and lets all the fathers go. Just running them over. Now, although I find the father chase to be a little eye-rolling, I love the music that John Williams wrote for this part of the movie. And the cop like speeders, I don't even know what to call these. Those are really cool designs. I would love to see those in a video game or something, a new Star Wars video game going forward. I actually do like this part of the chase where it's going through the casino, breaking up everything, and that weird egg lady screaming. Yeah, here we finally kind of see all the aliens on Canto Bight. I think, you know what it probably is? For me, it just kept going. Kind of like the end of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, how it had like 9 endings. This scene just kind of keeps going a little bit. You know what's funny? After seeing Solo, the speeders don't seem as earthy to me anymore. So I guess that's a good thing. That was one little gripe I had a long time ago, that I felt like Canto Bight felt a lot like Earth. But I'm feeling a little less like that now. And let's be honest, if you're like a 5 to like 10-year-old or whatever watching this, you're probably having the time of your life as these space horses get to freedom. Because what kid doesn't like animals getting freed? If you don't like that kind of thing, you probably have no soul. If there's one word I will say about this movie, including with this chase, like the chases and fights, they are relentless. Like they're very intense, I guess is the way I'd also say it too. Rian Johnson and friends aren't cheaping out on the tension. I wonder how many times in a Star Wars movie somebody has almost gone over a cliff. Yeah, so Finn is finally starting to believe in something, right? Realizing that there's something bigger than himself and Rose to fight, or bigger than himself and Rey to fight for. He's feeling pretty good about himself for kind of tearing apart the town. Little character arc for him, right? And Rose and Finn are becoming besties. So now DJ and BB-8 show up. I actually did think BB-8 stole the ship to come save them. But yeah, this is like the DJ. You don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. He comes to save him with BB-8. You know, he ends up getting him off planet. Oh, I love this scene. So now Luke is going out to reconnect with the Force right now. It's nighttime. This whole scene felt very classically Star Wars to me. Just weird, right? It also seems like it's a little painful to reconnect to the Force. And really good use of in-camera effects with the water and everything. They probably use a sound wave to make the water move. You can see, like, energy being passed to Leia. Yeah, and her whispering Luke and him whispering Leia just gave me chills. It just feels so classic. Oh yeah, so now this is the next Force bond between Rey and Kylo. And we find out Kylo does a lot of push-ups and sit-ups. No, but that dude has muscles. So Rey wants to know why Kylo hated his father. And Kylo admits that he didn't, which to me, you know, is duh. You know, Kylo didn't hate his father. Kylo thought that he could become the ultimate galactic badass by annihilating him for Snoke. And Snoke was just using him. I also think it's interesting that Kylo is the only one being straight up with Rey in the movie. Just being like, stop needing these people. Like, stop lying to yourself, essentially. And now we finally see Kylo's perception of what happened between him and Luke. So Luke had a lightsaber on him in the hut. And it was out, ready to strike down Kylo in Kylo's memory. Right here. And Luke looks like he has like Sith eyes right now. So yeah, in Kylo's mind, he was acting in self-defense, escaping Luke. And that's a pretty important thing for everybody to remember. Kylo thinks that Luke was trying to kill him. And like, his perception of that event is completely different than Luke's and completely different than ours. That's why we have that three tellings of the event, that Rashomon style event. So now Rey's finally going to go seek out the answers that she wants in that dark place in the island. Now this is like obviously very reminiscent or throwbacky to the Dagobah cave. But I don't think it was too similar. This is very much its own thing. Also very disgusting, that hole. So it just like grabs her into it, right? They didn't really mention what that could have been in the book besides a force pushing her in. But it's obvious that something is at play propelling her on this journey in here. So yeah, she's presented with a mirror. And to me, with a lot of my fan speculation, like this was the perfect thing that could have happened in this movie. She's looking for answers and all she sees is herself. I just thought it was great. And this whole scene is so weird, right? With the never-ending like iterations of her in time. Everything's like half a second behind the other version of her in this never-ending mirror cave. So like I'm glad that there's not really a concrete explanation as to what's going on, but I guess you could say that this is like infinite versions of Rey taking infinite journeys of like finding herself potentially. So she takes a step forward. You can actually hear a faint sound of a woman call to Rey. Yeah, so she wants to see her parents. But remember, this is gonna... The Force is weird, right? It's gonna show her what she needs to see. So we see two people converging into one, converging into what? It also kind of looks like Kylo for a second behind there. And then it turns into Rey. So the answer to her problems is herself. This is what the cave is telling her. And a lot of people seem to not get with that theme. I thought it was brilliant. You know, she's her own savior. So this is another Force Bond scene, right? They're in the hut. Kylo and Rey. Now Luke's looking for Rey at the worst moment ever. It's gonna be like your dad walking in on his daughter and her boyfriend. So this is a very interesting scene right now. Rey's completely covered in like golden light, and Kylo's covered in like his like bluish white, like gross light. And the second he is in this bond with Rey, he's finally in golden light. So I think this is foreshadowing her pulling him towards the light, right? The right kind of lighting, I guess, if you will. Yeah, something definitely happens when they touch here. They both see something. I don't think we're gonna find out exactly what happened until 9. But like Rey's crying the second they touch hands here, so she saw what happened to Ben. Yeah, and Luke comes in and just blows the hut up, realizing that they're connected. You know, to him, this is probably the most terrible thing he could have ever found. And now Rey's bullshit at Luke, realizing that Luke tried to strike down Kylo. Yeah, so this moment pissed off a lot of people, I think, online, that Rey knocked down Luke. But he's not trying to fight her. He's just trying to get away from her. And he just also grabbed a lightning rod and he's just blocking all of her hits. So he's just toying with her. I mean, Luke definitely is a badass. No doubt about it. He's just not the Cosmic Force's being of choice right now. So here's the third telling. I believe this is the real truth of what happened between Ben and Luke. So yeah, Luke is mind probing him right now. Looking inside his mind, he probably saw everything that he was going to do, right? Killing Han, the First Order, like, people really need to watch this scene and realize that Luke just had one little brief glimpse of terror and had an instinctual response, and then did the Jedi thing of putting away his lightsaber. He didn't literally try to go strike him down. I do wonder how old Ben Solo was in this moment. Yeah, so Luke is regretful because he literally caused the thing that he was trying to avoid. So, I mean, that's pretty tragic. And Luke's trying to warn her just like Yoda, right? That, like, just because the Force gave her a vision doesn't mean it's going to go the way she thinks the vision's going to go. Unfortunately, Luke still refuses the call that Rey's giving him with the lightsaber. But don't you worry. We all know what's going to happen. We all know badass Luke's going to become the badass Jedi at the end. Him looking at the Millennium Falcon going away looked like classic 70s filming on a blue screen Star Wars to me. I don't know why. It just really, really awesomely lit scene. Alright, so this is probably hands down the best scene in the film. We just go right behind the ears of Yoda as a Force ghost, as Luke is going to try to burn down the Force tree. I know Yoda looks a little goofy in this, but I love that it's the puppet, right? It's specifically the puppet from Empire Strikes Back. And you can tell Yoda's like, Luke, you ain't doing anything to this tree. You've done this so many times, but let me give you a little bit of help with my Force Muppet powers, and I will burn the tree for you. I loved this scene. It raises my curiosity about Force ghosts. So triumphant, too, with the Force theme right there and the burning tree. It's like drunk Yoda's back, right? He's just cackling. Yeah. Yeah, this whole scene is just great with the burning tree, the embers everywhere. You know, it's Yoda and Luke together again on screen. But Yoda's here to teach him another lesson. Basically, Yoda's just like, Luke, get over the past. Learn from your failures and teach other people to learn from your failures, right? Also, I love how cheeky Yoda can be about Rey. You know, obviously she has the books. I love that Yoda is also pretty much physical as a Force ghost at this point, and it's also touched upon in the anthology book series from a certain point of view. It has to do with, you know, the more time you give yourself over to the Force as a Force ghost, the more you can appear corporeal. But yeah, Luke's learning that failure is the greatest teacher. And if you think about it in your life, I'd agree with that sentiment. Like, if you're afraid to fail, you probably don't grow much as a person. You need to fail, and you need to learn from it, because it will teach you. Also, great line. We are what they grow beyond. That is the burden of all masters. It's like prophetic. Such a beautiful scene. Such a great score. Hopefully we see Yoda again. Yeah, so Rose and Finn and DJ are still on their way through hyperspace, on their way to the Supremacy. So now we're back to DJ being maybe the bad guy, because he needs a little bit of prepay before he does anything for Finn or Rose. And you can see Rose's devotion here. The fact she's willing to give up her necklace, which is the last remnant of what she has of her sister, just so this guy can help them shut down a tracker, shows that she really believes in the resistance. And you know, it just shows the kind of character she has. Also, a lot of this movie is about like how naive Finn is in his sort of arc towards like not being naive. He doesn't even realize that DJ, a guy that was just in jail, stole the ship that they're on. So, very important line here. Good guys, bad guys, made up words. Maybe the most important two lines in the movie. Yeah, so DJ's pretty much just trying to show Finn that even though you think people are, you know, good or bad, check it out. These guys are making ships for one side and the other side. You don't know anything. You know, war profiteering is more than just good and evil, right? People just want to make money. So the Resistance is finally all the way down to their main cruiser. So now Poe's about to cause a scene with Haldo, and you know, rightly so. Poe wants a plan. He's a man of action. And Haldo is just trying to, I guess, at this point, I think Haldo's just trying to keep people from going stir crazy on the bridge. But the issue here is that they're both wrong, in my opinion. She should have given him some insight, and he shouldn't have been some, you know, edgelord trying to push her around, trying to get information. So it's like right around here, I think that like the intent of Haldo's character was finally sort of hit on the head. You know, we're supposed to not really trust her. We're supposed to be on Poe's side, but I think we didn't get enough of Haldo to kind of make that feel, or to make it feel like that, I guess. In the comics, it felt like it, but yeah, in the movie, not so much. But I do like the tension between Poe and Haldo. It's very, very good tension. Also, I'm not sure if you guys caught that, Rey closed the books from the Jedi Temple into the Falcon. Just in case somebody's going to argue with you in the future that, you know, how could she learn how to be a Jedi? Well, she has the books. Also, very interesting that Rey is in what I am calling a spaceship coffin. Just very intriguing to me. Yeah, so she's going to see Kylo Ren in that. They're going to go have a meeting. Gotta say, pretty risky. Because not even a couple days ago, Kylo Ren just stabbed his father through the heart. So, yeah, you can kind of tell she's a little bit stupefied by him definitely some tension going on too. Like, I definitely believe they like each other in a romantic way after touching hands because of what they saw, or at least there's love going on or blooming. That might sound weird, but that's what I think. I thought the way that the slicing works in this movie was pretty cool. Just kind of like, you know, that guy is what's the word? A skeleton key for ships, or like a whole bunch of them. I hope we see more of that in the next film too. So right now the mutiny is about to happen between Poe and Haldo, which is another thing technically that Poe would need to be court-martialed for if this was reality. But yeah, you know what? Oh yeah, I love this scene. I think this is the most underrated comedy of this film. The iron coming down. I thought that was hilarious. More of that, please. That was I think The Last Jedi is so aware of what it is, and maybe that's what made people so mad. I don't know, but I love it. It's so aware that this is Star Wars, and that it's aware that we're watching it. You know, meta movie. I love Evil BB-90. Very cool design. You know, I don't think I've ever seen the perspective of what a droid sees in the way we just saw out of BB-9E in a movie before from Star Wars. But yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah, so now Rey and Ben or Rey's calling Kylo Ben now after they touched hands, right? So something has happened. Like now she's talking to Ben, right? They both saw some visions. She's getting real close to him. And she's telling him that he's in a turn. So you can tell, like, the Force is so weird because they both saw something. And they're both right in their own regards, technically. Also, Kylo and Ben is pulling the power move, telling Rey, "I saw who your parents are." It's probably the worst thing she could hear at that moment, right before she goes before Space Freddy Krueger. So yeah, this is the first time Rey is meeting Snoke. Snoke is such a creepy looking guy. Really, really great job with that team that did the CGI on Snoke. It's pretty crazy that is a artificial motion capture, you know. Alright, so now DJ goes back to being the good guy, handing back over the Svelte to Rose, because he needed a good conductor while doing his job. So, you know, we're again teeter-tottering on the good guy, bad guy thing. I love when BB-8 just throws the comm out of the trash can he's in. You know, BB-8's a funny dude. He's a funny astromech. Yeah, C-3PO, his presence was kind of pointless to me in this movie a little bit. I like that he was there, but, you know, also, so now Haldo has mutinied the mutiny. I don't know if you guys saw that, but she actually said "pew" each time she shot the blaster. I thought that was pretty funny when I was seeing it in the movies. Yeah, so now Poe's plans are going to shit again, right? This is the point. Poe needs to stop just aimlessly thinking and, stick to the plan that the people have already made. All right, so there's the flux capacitor. Or what? I actually have no idea what it's called. The thing that they need to shut down the hyperspace tracker. But it definitely looks like the flux capacitor to me from Back to the Future. And unfortunately, they are caught by the First Order. Yeah, that's one menacing astromech, that BB-9E. Yeah, so there we go. We finally see Phasma again. I'm sure Finn probably had his heart stop the second he turned around seeing the Chrome Dome. Right? Last time he saw her, he was going to reconditioning. Yeah, so Leia's finally out of her coma now and just straight up shoots Poe with the blaster set to stun. She's not fucking around. That's one thing about Leia, right? She doesn't mess around. She's not going to deal with some flyboy. So this is one moment in the movie between Leia and Holdo. It's earned and unearned at the same time. To me, it's earned because I read the Leia book before The Last Jedi, and I know about Holdo's relationship with Leia, how they became friends. But yeah, it's hard. Since we don't know much about Leia's friendship with Holdo, if you've only watched the movies, it's hard to feel Leia's grief knowing her friend's gonna stay behind and sacrifice herself for the greater good, right? But either way, it does result in one of the most badass scenes in Star Wars history. A lot of people say it should have been Leia that stayed behind. Well, we didn't know what was going to happen in real life, so hindsight's 2020, everybody. All right, so now we're back with Snoke. Rey's just staring him down. So we're learning a little bit about the Force right now from Snoke, right? Darkness rose and light met it. Snoke tells Rey that as Kylo gets stronger, there would be an equal on the light side, right? But, Luke cut himself off from the Force, so the Force had to go into somebody else. Explanation for Rey. It's more than we need, guys. We don't need everything explained. Gotta give it to Rey. She is really confident in front of Snoke. And it's crazy how realistic Snoke looks in this movie. I would run in terror if I was face to face with Snoke. Also, the way Kylo looks at Snoke when he learns that, Snoke was stoking his anger and he made the connection. He's just like, what did you do? Also, look at Snoke's nails. They're like animal hands. He's like the Freddy Krueger Sith of the Star Wars galaxy. He's obviously super powerful because he's using the mind probe and holding her body in the air right now. So, dude's very tuned into the Force. Also, the scream from Rey that's palpable stuff. That's a guttural scream, Yeah, so Poe is he finally wakes up after being stunned, right? And he's noticing that Leia is on the escape pod with him, right? He's finally realizing that there was a mission all along. And that's the lesson, right? Where Poe needs to stop jumping to conclusions or being so impatient. Leia had a big plan all along. Yeah, and so you can kind of see Poe just sort of realizing, like, wow, why did I just do all this shit? And for him to take up the mantle as like the predecessor to Leia, he needs to learn when to act and when to run, right? And that's kind of a weird message for kids, I guess, but like there are times when you need to run. So we're going to the First Order hangar bay where like everybody's lined up. This is like what I call the Return of the Jedi shot, like when the Emperor shows up. I do wish we saw way more First Order Stormtrooper action in The Last Jedi, but great looking scene here with all the AT-ATs and all the AT-STs and all that stuff in the background. Also, I love that Hux bitch slaps Finn. And so here we go. Now DJ has his bad guy moment. He gave over Finn and Rose. He tried to tell him. He made a deal. Don't like the stutter that he has, though. I gotta say it. So basically, he gave him the information about the transports going to Crate. So they're just gonna try to blow them out of the sky. So basically, in Finn's mind and Rose's mind, they just killed everybody, and it's a pretty devastating thing to think about, right? Imagine thinking or realizing that you just destroyed the fleet by trusting some random dude. And even he said, like, good guys, bad guys, made up. So this is pretty brutal. They're just like sitting ducks out there just waiting to die. Yeah, and you can see Haldo just like in complete terror and shock at realizing that they found out what's going on. Yeah, so Snoke's plan after reading Rey's mind is just to go obliterate Octu. Yeah, I love that Snoke just is toying with her, just like Kylo in the last one. She tries to grab the lightsaber, and he just makes it hit her right in the head, right? This scene's very reminiscent of Return of the Jedi with the Emperor and Luke, but I thought it was fine. He's just trying to beat her down, saying, you got nothing left, so you might as well stop fighting, right? So yeah, Rey's truly powerful. She just grabbed Kylo Ren's lightsaber out of his hilt, right? Also, that's a beautiful shot of the lightsaber spinning. So we're getting up to another point of contention in this movie. I saw this, or I'm sorry, I did not see this coming at all. At this point in the movie, I'm just like, what the hell is going to go on? Such a beautiful shot with the red and the black floor. It's funny, he mimics himself from the previous movie. I know what I have to do. Except he doesn't say, I need the strength to do it, right? Even Snow can't perfectly read the future, which is why I think all of this went down the way it did. So, very clever Ben Solo Turn both lightsabers. Cloud the mind of a Force user. And just cut Snoke in half out of nowhere. I remember when this happened in the theater, I was just like, all bets are off. And I think everybody in my theater got so pumped with the music rising, the Force theme. And this is hands down one of the best duels I've ever seen in Star Wars. Slow motion ramped up into real time. Yeah, the Praetorian Guard fight is nuts. It's beautifully choreographed. I could watch this for 2 hours. Yeah, so Poe and everybody, everything's kind of all coming together, right? So, so the Resistance fleet's getting bombed. Rey and Kylo are fighting the Praetorian Guards. And, you know, Finn and Rose are trying not to get killed yet. Everything's coming to a head. Yeah, so now we're back to the guard fight. I love that Kylo just smacks the guy in the face, right? And throws him over. So they're actually using Teras Kasi, or forms of it, to fight Rey and Kylo in this scene, which is, you know, people are like, why are they using the Force? Well, these guys are trained to fight Force users, so perhaps using the Force would be pointless. Love this Praetorian Guard with the 2 blades. And that scream that Rey lets out, that, like, just animal growl, truly a badass. The staccato strings in this section too, the bam, 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 and the trills and all that stuff, it's just such a good Star Wars fight. Such a good just sequence here. The other thing too is they choreographed this so well that they're letting this play out in wide shots. Like, they don't need to use the art of cutting to hide all the bad, you know, the hide bad movement, right? Like, this looks like a real fight to me. It's crazy, though, that even though Snoke died, or so we think, the guards were still willing to put their lives on the line. Because effectively, they have no more, like, crime boss or lord. But yeah, it just shows they're so loyal to Snoke that even in death, they will die for him. Alright, this move is the coolest move. Lightsaber to Ben. Ben puts the lightsaber through the Praetorian Guard's head. Turns it on and off. I've always wondered if somebody would do that in a movie, and they finally answered that question and did it. So again, here we go with visions coming true. They both joined each other, yet outplaying in different ways. Ben needed Rey to help him defeat the Praetorian Guards and Snoke. He just wants to take the mantle, right? So this is that moment everybody was waiting for. The Empire moment. Join me. Because you can see Ben's still coming from a place of regret and hurt and abandonment. So now he feels like he finally can have control. So he wants to be the supreme leader, you know. That's why I think he's trying to become the supreme leader. He's telling Rey to tell him who her parents are. We get the reveal. Junk traders, right? Sorry, guys, they weren't Luke Skywalker or Han Solo's random other child. It was something better. She was pretty much a pauper. And she has the Force gift, right? And that's important. So Kylo is the legacy guy, wanting Rey to join her. She's just this nobody. Two equally powerful people in the Force. And he just wants somebody to be, like, basically his friend. The way he says please to get her to join him, like he's about to cry. I feel really bad for Kylo when you think about it. Yeah, he's a murderer, but I mean, he's got a shitty childhood, shitty past. All right, here we go, everybody. Haldo maneuver time. Now, I wasn't quite sure what was going on during this, so as I said earlier, these plans or these hyperspace coordinates are already put into the computer, so there wasn't a lot of stuff that Haldo needed to do to prep for this little maneuver. I wonder how long Rey and Kylo were staring at each other at this point. Minutes? Decades? Years. Alright, so she tries to grab the Skywalker lightsaber, right? But as we know, they are equals. So I thought this was like a perfect way to show that neither of them can grab it. I love how medieval these stormtroopers are, right? With the axes and off with their heads and all that kind of thing. Very, very interesting take on Star Wars. I'm sure some people didn't like it, but I thought that was very, very interesting. It's a Black Series figure I need to get. Yeah, so Haldo's literally setting up the ship to just hyperspace through the Supremacy. Something we've never really seen before. And it just, to me, is such a badass move. All right, so everything's happening all at once right now. We got lightsaber being fought over, Haldo about to go through his ship, Finn's head's about to get cut off, and then boom. The quietest explosion ever. So beautiful. The Haldo maneuver just takes out everything. I think I audibly gasped in the movie when this happened. It was beautiful. I've never had a theater go so silent like that into such a huge explosion. It's even interesting, too, the way Leia came into the ship when she was out in space and went through the hologram of the Supremacy is exactly where the Supremacy got split in half from the Haldo maneuver. So yeah, Finn and Rose are now trying to run away from the First Order now that the explosion has happened, kind of knocking everybody all over the place. And Phasma's trying to, still hunt them down. So I thought this part was a little goofy, right? At first I'm like, oh sweet, an AT-AT is taking him out, and I thought it might be DJ in there doing his good guy thing, but it was actually BB-8, and not that I should care, but it was just a little silly to me that it was BB-8. But I'm over it, whatever. All right, so love this standoff between Finn and Phasma. She's got her staff from I believe it's Parnassus, the planet she's from. Yeah, Finn ain't fucking around, right? He just knocked out that stormtrooper. It's very, brutal fight, it feels like. I wonder if that's actually Gwendolyn Christie in the suit while they're fighting. I actually don't know that. But yeah, she knocks him over, thinking that she's bested him, right? I love that. He just, hey, then he knocks her out, exposing her eyeball, right? We finally see behind the chrome. That was very interesting. She wants to be hidden, right? That's part of her culture, their faces being hidden, and the fact that their eyes being shown is probably kind of horrifying to her. I do wonder if she dies. You know, she does go into flames, but who knows? Yeah, so they escape on the chicken walker. Like I said, it's a little goofy to me. Whatever. It's Star Wars. The close-up of dead Snoke's face is amazing. But just pay attention to the fact that the only thing that never moved was his hand. That has an obsidian ring from Vader's castle. Interesting stuff, guys. So Weasel Hux is starting to show himself, right? He does not like Kylo. Almost pulls out his gun on him. That's definitely going to be a play in the next movie. Yeah, so Kylo's about to flex hard to Mr. Hux here. I love this right here. We see the classic Force choke from Kylo. Straight up taking the mantle of his grandfather. In this moment, regardless of if you think Ben's going to be redeemed or not, he's full on dark right now. I think, you know, he's lost the lightsaber again. He got bested by Rey. He's been left alone and abandoned again. I think at this point, the reason why he's like wanting to annihilate everybody at the base is because he's pissed. He didn't think he was going to get abandoned by Rey, and he just was. So now we're on Crate. I love the aesthetic of Crate. I get that it was supposed to like be reminiscent of an ice planet. But yeah, very, very beautiful like looking planet with the red dirt underneath the salt crystals on top. I'm surprised that Finn and Rose did not get killed when they went into the Resistance base, because so many bullets were going everywhere. And so now we got Rose realizing that there's so little people left, right? So many people have died since the beginning of this movie. The Resistance is just like a ragtag group of people at this point. So, yeah, they're in like the ancient rebel depths here. This is an old base, according to the Leia book, that was used by the rebellion, I think, like 30, 40 years ago. So everything in here is real antiquated. Oh yeah, I forgot about the ice foxes. I think the ice foxes would have been cooler as a puppet, but either way, interesting take on, you know, an animal from a salt crystalline planet. You know, it doesn't like distract, but yeah, I just think a puppet would have been a more interesting way to do the Vulptex. Yeah, so Finn's finally fighting for something bigger than himself now. He's gone through what he's needed to go through, right? And he just wants to take out that cannon for the Resistance. You know, people believe in Leia. He believes it now. By the way, we're about to see Gareth Edwards make a cameo. Mr. Old Man walks out in the salt. It also looks like the guy from the Hunger Games. Yeah, there he is, Gareth Edwards. Great acting, Gareth. You did it. So I forget the name of these skitters, right? these like hunk of junks. But I love that the Resistance is just doing anything they can at this point to throw off the First Order that has such advanced military weapons that like it's almost a joke that they're even going up against them in these. Oh, that's what you call them, rust buckets. Great shots, though. Very, very, very good shots. Cinematography in this movie is just out of this world. Now Rose officially caught up in the fight. She's flying. No longer just a mechanic in the, you know, behind the scenes. So I like the ATM-6 walkers. I think they were a good addition. Aesthetically, the whole monkey kind of aesthetic to it, I don't know, like, if it makes sense. But I still think the design is really cool. Looks very evil. It looks like the claws in the front were more of like an update in case people used, you know, tow lines or whatever to trip up the walkers. You know, could just probably cut through them. But yeah, very cool design. Just curious that looks like a gorilla to me. It's interesting too. It's like the planet's bleeding every time they shoot at it with these like red explosions of dust, and I think that's the intent of Rian Johnson here, like just exposing the raw blood underneath everything, because it's almost like everybody in this movie had to go through something that really exposed them in a painful way. So finally we get the hero coming back, Millennium Falcon. And, you know, we get the Porgs and Chewie. And we have Rey finally on the gun. That was kind of a cheeky little moment. You know, Rey coming back from the Supremacy. We didn't end up seeing her meet back up at Chewbacca, but she's actually a pretty good shot, it seems, you know? And Kylo being ridiculous and obsessive, he makes all the ties go after the Millennium Falcon because he's just, you know, fueled by rage. You know, that's his dad's ship, so. Also right here, love this sequence when it goes back to the classic TIE Fighter battle from A New Hope music. The innards of Crate are so beautiful. And Chewie is a fantastic pilot. It's like, Chewie doesn't even really need a co-pilot. He just has that one Porg. He's good. I think that's it for the gun, though. So that's 2 movies in a row that the gun's broken. Yeah, so the battering ram cannon thing. I thought the name was kind of wonky, if that's what it's called, but I like the homage to the Death Star tech. Anybody ever notice that Kylo Ren's ship looks like a bat? I've always thought that. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, these guys are just, you know, essentially they're the guys in the little speeders just getting yeah, they're getting picked off. So now Finn's actually getting a little reckless now, even though he's finally given into, he's gone full in with the resistance. But, like, the point isn't to needlessly sacrifice yourself either, you know? A lot of people said it would have been great if he sacrificed himself here, but I disagree. It would have been a poor end to Mr. Finn and his arc. Also, I really like the music right now. It's just the chorus, the Gregorian style chorus, and him in the beam, just preparing to die, accepting it. I know Finn's a hero, right? He is a hero to me now. But he doesn't need to die, and Rose knows that and just knocks him out. He needs to live another day. Because I will be bullshit if he's not in episode 9. The only thing is Rose almost killed herself trying to save Finn, so, good try at a good thing, but, almost dying, not a good thing. I like this line here. I don't like the acting here, personally. Just fine, I didn't really think there would be a Finn and Rose romance or anything going on. I don't really think there will be. I kind of feel like that was like a in the moment thing. Maybe Finn will feel like protective of Rose going forward, but yeah, it was just kind of awkward to me when I watched that. But, whatever. Yeah, so it's right here. They've basically sent out distress calls to everybody in the Outer Rim or any allies they can think of, and nobody is responding. So Leia feels like people have just turned their back on the Resistance. And there's that word, the spark is out, right? Just like in the beginning of the title crawl. She thinks the spark of hope is out. And right as she says that, the mysterious man himself shows up. We know who it is. Somehow Luke Skywalker has gotten a haircut and come to Crate. Now this scene, to me, was so beautiful. Specifically knowing, because Carrie Fisher passed away, but you can just feel this scene when you watch it. Luke and Leia's theme and his sorrow. It's really fantastic. Being able to see the two of them on screen one more time. Funny is Luke lets Leia know that nobody's ever really gone, including her son. Hands over the dice, right, from Han's ship. But there's a look between the two of them that I think she knows that Luke, as we know, he's projecting himself. He's not really there. And I think in that moment, once they touch each other, she knows as well that he's not there. I love this wink to C-3PO, this like, Master Luke. And he winks at him. Also, this score, bam, 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 gave me chills. Because they are watching the legend Luke himself. Pretty much like, as an analogy, it's like he's walking out of a wound. back to face the world again. How epic and triumphant. Look at that shot. The only thing that could ever stop Kylo in his tracks is his uncle. Look at all that salt blood, right? It's like Luke Skywalker emerging from the wounds of his past. Ready to face down his past as well. So it's crazy, right? So, like, not a lot of people see Jedi this day and age, so the request for everybody to fire on him seems ridiculous, but, I mean, I actually thought that was pretty funny in the theater, that shot, but they unleash the fury on Luke. There is so much red going into the sky, so much blood and pain. It's like, it's just like this analog to sorrow and blood and pain, right? That's all that I think of when I see this scene. Kylo's like twitching in terror. You can also see Kylo kind of say like, you're okay, underneath his breath. Like, he's truly freaked out that Luke is there. Also, Luke is a badass. Just walks out of the red clouds completely untouched. He ain't messing around. And you can see kind of like Kylo's face in that moment is sort of like accepting that he has to go face his uncle. Also, the fact that Hux didn't die from that force push against the wall is miraculous. So I love the standoff here between Luke and Kylo. The uncle and nephew. This is an atonement session right now. This is a therapy session in space. There's Finn again, kind of being impulsive, thinking he needs to jump back into the action, but Poe knows, like, Luke needs to be out there alone. So much hurt and pain behind everything Kylo says. I love the stance as he gets prepped for the lightsaber duel. Even though the lightsabers never touch here, this is just a ferocious couple of moves. I suppose realizing that he's realizing that Luke is doing this to kind of allow the Resistance to get away, right? And so Poe's finally kind of like learned his lesson at this point, right? Sometimes running and not just going right into the battle is the best option. Whereas, you know, Finn needs to learn that he needs to join something bigger than himself or fight for something bigger than himself. Rey needs to learn to stop looking for approval in like parental figures and realize that she needs to be the person that believes in herself, right? Kylo just needs to stop doing so many push-ups. No, I'm just kidding. I love that handoff right there between Leia and Poe. What are you looking at me for? Follow him. That's a great baton handoff right there. Oh, you know what's funny? I was just talking about this the other day. I couldn't remember what happened with R2-D2 after Occ 2, but there he is scanning for life forms with the binary beacon. So there's the answer, folks. So I wonder if Porgs will just always be on the Millennium Falcon at this point, or like when they retire the Millennium Falcon, it'll be like a Porg sanctuary. That'd be pretty funny. Yeah, so unfortunately, the little crystal doggies, they get to a part in the cave, right, that is obscured by so many rocks. So Rey's going to be forced to, you know, figure out how to lift rocks, which was, you know, what Luke originally told her is what the being a Jedi isn't all about, but it will be the thing she has to do to save everybody. Yeah, so I love this, like, standoff, you know. Oof, such a menacing swipe at Luke. Also, you could hear the Wilhelm scream right there. Note Luke's feet. There is no salt moving at all. Such good attention to detail in this duel. I love Luke's sad face after he twirls away from that blow that that Kylo tried to put on Luke, right? Kylo's so fueled by rage. All he wants to do is kill the last Jedi and his uncle. So all the people in the cave are just being, like, emit by light. So Rey has saved everybody by doing the thing that was kind of the joke in the beginning, right? It's not just about lifting rocks. No, I actually loved this, right? Rey is like the cosmic force incarnate. So people are like, how could she be this powerful? Well, I don't know. Maybe because it's the cosmic force incarnate? I don't know. Makes sense to me. But yeah, I love that they ended up using the gag as the way that they saved the day at the end to get everybody out of the mine. And we finally get, you know, Rey and Finn embracing again. That's the ship I secretly want to have happening too. Even though I think it'll be Reylo. So this is that final moment with Luke, right? Turns off his lightsaber. Strike me down in anger and I'll always be with you. Just like your father. Just taunting Kylo, right? But it's true. He's like a little petulant child, right? Just running at his uncle, swiping through him. You know, obviously the red on the ground represents the blood that would have been there, but there's no blood. Luke's just there, still standing. And to Kylo's horror, he's just like, what the hell is going on? Now, this moment gave me chills in the theater. I thought he was, like, actually already dead and just, like, I don't know. But yeah, this scene, him floating above the rock, using the Force so hard, it's concentrating so hard, people were cheering in my theater. Love that line. See you around, kid, and he just fades away. Kylo realizing that he's lost his uncle and has got bested at the same time. Such a good no right here when he yells too. That's a no, I believe. Not like at the end of Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, that whole setup, you know, in the beginning, you can't be doing this. The effort alone would kill you. Luke did that projection thing that Kylo thought Rey was doing in the beginning. And he exerted himself so much using the Force for that one dire technique to save everybody that he ends up, you know, just becoming one with the Force. Such a beautiful end to him seeing the sun being sort of overtaken, perhaps by like the beauty and remembrance of how far he's gone. And you can see Leia and Rey starting to feel the loss, or him slowly fading into the Force. Now, I think in the comic right here, Ben Kenobi goes, "Let go, Luke." It would have been great if that was in the movie. But still, I love this scene. Smiling against the twin sons. And fully accepting his role and his legend. And he becomes one with the Force. Super sad, guys. It's definitely sad to see it happen, but it was powerful. We'll be seeing Luke in 9. So I love this fifey version of Kylo's theme now. It's like the marching theme, the new Imperial March. I like the little take on it. You can see Hux just... He's so mad that Kylo's in charge of his First Order, the one he thinks he deserves. He's definitely going to be doing stuff behind his back in the next movie. So it's a final Force connection here between Kylo and Rey. They can see each other, and she just shuts the door on him. Like, it's like a literal and figurative thing, I believe. Saying, like, I tried to let you in, but, you know, you went the other way. And there goes Han's dice fading away into the blue nothing. Which is why I said I think Leia might have known that Luke was actually not really there at first. So now the entire Resistance literally fits on the Millennium Falcon, which is pretty nuts, right? So it'll be super interesting how 9 starts off. So Poe meets Rey for the second time, technically. And there are all the Jedi books, as Finn is trying to pretty much just keep Rose, you know, warm and whatever. He's like her caretaker now. Probably feels obligated too, you know? I mean, it's because of him that she's in that position. Yeah, so we're getting to the end of the movie here. So Luke is gone, and they both know that he died with peace and purpose. It's Leia and Rey just talking to one another. She has the two halves of the lightsaber, which maybe she will rebuild, but yeah. I thought the movie was going to end right here. They have everything they need for the rebellion to rebuild. Boom. But then we get this coda. Kids telling the story of Luke facing off against the First Order. This is like us talking about the movies when we were kids, right? I love this. I also love that weird rat alien guy. So I never caught this at first when I saw the movie, that he grabbed the broom with the Force, but it just means that, like, you know, the Force awakens. Take that literally, guys. It's awakening throughout the galaxy, and all these places where people are being oppressed, they will be rising up. That's what this kid represents. He's like the Rose, right? Now, sure, the kid kind of looks like a little silly, you know, but it's a good, powerful ending to the film. And that's it, guys. That is The Last Jedi. That is a long movie. I wonder how much of you actually stuck around for the whole thing, or just tuned in or out. This one was actually hard to talk about because I find myself just wanting to watch the movie. But yeah, overall, it was super fun to do this again, everybody. And I hope you enjoyed me talking about The Last Jedi. The next movie after this is going to be Rogue One. And then after that, it'll be The Force Awakens. So yeah, I hope you guys have had a great time as I've talked about The Last Jedi And other than that, please stick around for some new upcoming content that's going to be about Rebels and some more stuff about Resistance as well. And other than that, AT signing off.